Our little town school wasn't used to new kids, especially not in the middle of the year. So, when Mrs. Davison walked in with this girl trailing behind her, a hush fell over the room. The first thing I noticed, the thing we all noticed, was the hood. She wore a dark blue hoodie, pulled up so tight that all you could see was a tiny sliver of her chin and maybe her lips if she turned just right. Her hands were always stuffed in her pockets, and she walked with her head down, like she was trying to find pennies on the floor. "Class, this is Alara," Mrs. Davison said, her voice extra cheerful. Let's all make her feel welcome. We mumbled our hellos, but mostly, we just stared at the space where her face should have been. Days turned into weeks, and Alara remained a mystery. She never took off her hood, not even when it was hot in the classroom. Not for lunch in the noisy cafeteria. Not even for gym, though Mr. Henderson looked like he wanted to say something about it but never did. She'd sit at the back, quiet as a shadow. If you asked her a question, she'd nod or shake her head or whisper a yes or no, so soft you'd barely hear it. The whispers started, of course. Kids can be cruel, even when they don't mean to be. What's wrong with her face? Maybe she was in a fire. My cousin said she's probably got a terrible scar. She's just weird. I'd hear them, and a knot would tighten in my stomach. I was curious, too, I won't lie. But more than curious, I felt, I don't know, a kind of ache for her. It must have been so lonely, hiding all the time. I tried smiling at her once, or twice, when I thought she might be looking my way, but her gaze always darted back to the floor. Mrs. Davison was kind. She'd try to include Alara, gently asking her opinion on a story or if she'd like to read aloud. Alara would just shrink, further into her hoodie. I saw Mrs. Davison's face fall a little each time, that little sigh she'd let out when she thought no one was looking. The thing is, Alara was smart. You could tell. Sometimes she'd write an answer on the small whiteboard we used, and it was always right, always thoughtful. And her drawings in art class, they were amazing. She'd draw these incredible, detailed pictures of animals and magical forests, but always with her head bowed low over the paper, her hood casting a shadow on her work. It was like all the things she couldn't show or say came out through her pencil. One afternoon, during art, I was sitting near her. We were supposed to be drawing our favorite season. I was struggling with a snowman, making it look more like a lumpy potato. I glanced over and saw Alara's paper. She was drawing spring, tiny, perfect blossoms on a tree, a bird with its beak open in song. It was beautiful, so full of life. Without thinking, I leaned over a little. "Wow, Alara," I whispered. "That's really good." She jumped, like I'd poked her. Her pencil clattered to the floor. We both reached for it at the same time. Our hands brushed. And as she leaned down, her hood, for just a second, slipped back. My breath caught in my throat. It wasn't a scar. It wasn't a burn. It wasn't anything ugly or scary like the whispers had suggested. The right side of Alara's face, from her temple down to her jawline, was covered in a birthmark. It was a deep, beautiful shade of violet, like crushed berries, or the color of the sky just before a storm. It swirled in delicate patterns, almost like a map of an unknown magical land. Her eye on that side was a clear, bright hazel, and it looked out from that field of violet with a startling intensity. The other side of her face was pale, with a dusting of freckles, just like any other kid. She saw the look on my face, probably shock, I couldn't help it, and she flinched. Her hand shot up, yanking the hood back into place, her face hidden once more. Her shoulders started to shake, very slightly. My heart just broke. All this time she'd been hiding, thinking we'd find her ugly or frightening. All this time, she'd carried that fear. The other kids hadn't seen. They were all busy with their own lumpy snowmen and crooked suns. It was just our moment. I didn't know what to say. My mind was racing. Then, I remembered her drawing. "Your bird," I said, my voice a bit shaky. "It looks like it's really singing." She stopped shaking. Slowly, very slowly, she lifted her head just a tiny bit. I couldn't see her eyes, but I felt them on me. "Thank you," she whispered. It was the clearest I'd ever heard her speak. That moment, it felt like a tiny crack had appeared in the wall she'd built around herself. I didn't tell anyone what I saw. It felt like her secret to share, not mine. But something shifted in me. I started trying harder to talk to her, asking her about her drawings, telling her about my dog, simple things. Sometimes she'd just nod, but other times, a tiny yeah or uh-huh would escape. A few weeks later, it was Mrs. Davison who changed everything for everyone else. We were having a class discussion about uniqueness, what makes each of us special. Mrs. Davison was so good at making us feel safe to share. "Sometimes," she said, looking gently towards Alara, "the things that make us different are the things that make us most beautiful. But it can take courage to show them." There was a long silence. Then, Alara's hand, pale and trembling, reached up to the edge of her hood. She hesitated. I held my breath. All the kids were watching now, quiet and curious. Slowly, she pulled her hood back. Gasps rippled through the room. Not mean gasps, just surprised ones. For a moment, no one moved. Alara kept her eyes on her desk, her cheeks flushing a deep red that almost matched her birthmark. Then, Michael, who sat in the front and was usually the loudest, said, "Whoa, it's like a cool purple painting." Sarah, next to him, nodded. "Yeah, it's pretty." Ilara's head snapped up. Her eyes, both of them, darted around the room, wide and uncertain. She saw not disgust or fear, but genuine curiosity, and even admiration. A small, wobbly smile touched her lips. It was the first time any of us had seen her smile. It transformed her face, made the violet mark seem to glow. That day, everything did change. Alara didn't suddenly become the most talkative kid in class, but she stopped wearing her hood all the time. She started answering questions, her voice growing a little stronger each day. She even laughed once during recess when Tommy told a silly joke. We discovered that Alara wasn't just the girl who wouldn't show her face. She was Alara, the amazing artist, the quiet observer, the girl with the beautiful, unique mark that was a part of her. Like my freckles were a part of me, or Tommy's goofy grin was a part of him. And we discovered something about ourselves, too. We learned that what's hidden isn't always scary, and that sometimes the most beautiful things are the ones that are a little different. It wasn't just Alara who changed. We all did, a little bit. We learned to look past the surface, and that, I think, was the most important discovery of all.